Chucks. Indeed, Alberto Rengifo, Crumbs from Dignitas. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I wanted to chat with you because I found out something about you this weekend that I don't think a lot of people know in the scene, or at least it's not common knowledge. You're actually Venezuelan, right?
Yeah, I was born there, and then I moved to Canada when I was 14, so I lived my first teen years there, then 5 years in Canada in Vancouver, and then almost 3 years now in Los Angeles due to the LCS.
I'm kind of interested in your backstory because, you know, most of these LCS players actually grew up in what you would call a normal family, you know, house dog PC, and got good at video games, whereas from what I found out, your parents basically decided that they want to give you a better future than they see for you in Venezuela, and took you to Canada. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes, well, the government situation in Venezuela wasn't looking too good at the time, and when that happened, they decided that they wanted to just get a better future for my brother and I. So they enrolled him and I in an American school since the 3rd grade. So I was able to learn English from very young, have no accent because of that. And then, yeah, I wouldn't have known otherwise that the world wasn't like it was in Venezuela had I not left, but they took me to Canada, and obviously I was heartbroken because I didn't know anything else. You don't really get to see, like, you're not seeing YouTube videos back then, or like the television showing you what the outside world is like. And when I got to Canada, then there's so many more opportunities there. And I mean, I would have never guessed that I'd end up doing this right now.
Is it like, now you look back at it, you obviously were a kid at the time, probably didn't have perspective, but now that you look back, do you feel like it was a good thing for you that your parents took you? Do you feel like you could have actually had a nice life in Venezuela?
I think if I stayed in Venezuela, I probably would have been able to make a nice life, but it would be limited to what I would know. So I would have a lot less knowledge and then just have a decent life regarding that. But now I know so much more and know all the options that are available out there. And that, for me, is all that really matters. So looking back on it, it was the best decision by far, and I'm really glad they did that for me.
So how is it growing up in Venezuela? Is it like... I mean, it's South America. People in Europe don't know too much about it. People in the US don't really probably know too much about it. Is it rough? Are there rough neighborhoods? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, well, I grew up in about middle class, but the most important thing that is different from the entire rest of the world that people may not know is that there's a lot of things that you can take for granted when you're living in Canada and in the United States. I'm not sure about Europe because I haven't lived there, but it's very unsafe to be there in South America. There's a lot of things and activities that you just can't do by yourself. You can't be going out at night, like 8 p.m. by yourself. That's unheard of. Like, you should not be doing that. There's a lot of danger as a child. Like, I knew multiple people from my school that would just be kidnapped by drivers, and there's kidnaps, shootings all the time. So you're very restricted to just being around your family and the people who you trusted. So meeting strangers and trusting somebody was something that is very difficult to do from being there.
That sounds actually very scary to me.
Yeah.
But did you, as a kid, did you get in trouble at all, or were you just sticking to?
Well, my life revolved mostly around the school and sailing. I was enrolled in sailing, and I did that for about 8 years, like 5 or 6 of those competitively. But my father taught at my school as well, so I couldn't really get into trouble there. So besides that, I was just kind of trying to get by. I really enjoyed sailing and school as well. But on my downtime, I just get in trouble by gaming a lot, right? Like, even though I was over there and the PC at my house didn't have internet, but I'd still find ways to just game all day. You know, I'd just be playing like World of Warcraft, Need for Speed, anything that didn't require internet, I'd be playing, and I really enjoyed that. And from there is kind of where the gaming started, where my parents had a computer business where in the year 2000 and a little bit earlier, people didn't really know how to use computers, so they teach you how to use a computer. So they teach schools, teach older people, okay, this is the future, you need to know how to use this. And in my free time, I just go to their work and start gaming there.
How did it feel at the age of 14 to be uprooted and taken to a country which you know little about?
The only thing I knew about Canada was that it spoke English. And when they told me, obviously they were elated. They absolutely were ecstatic. And I was very sad at the time. You know, I was really sad, and I didn't want to go. It took me a long time to accept that it was actually going to happen. That I was going to leave everything behind, right? And all my friends, everybody that I knew, I was like, yeah, I'm leaving in like a month. Things like that. It's like I'll never see you again. It's like goodbye. So it was very heartbreaking for me at the time. And when I got to Canada, it was still very difficult. But the people there, luckily, were very nice. And it took me some time, but I've eventually managed to make good friendships there.
Do you keep in touch with anybody in Venezuela?
Truth be told, no. I talk to maybe once every couple of years, a couple of messages. Before it was better, but now I don't really speak to anybody from there besides my family.
Talk to me a little bit about sailing, because that seems interesting to me. Sailing, competitive sailing isn't very common. How good were you really?
Well, I won the national sailing competition once, and I got second place due to some disqualifications a couple times. But I felt I was pretty good. I got to go to a lot of countries in South America just to represent Venezuela as a whole with another part of the team, and went to World Championships, went to North American Championships, South American Championships, and I got to that level, but I never really won anything major outside the national level.
What's a skill set that you develop sailing?
The biggest thing is that you need to keep track of a lot of things all the time. So the boat is a very intricate piece of equipment in the sense that there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that need constant attention, and same goes with the wind, the waves, your body. All of it needs to be constantly looked after, and that's something that requires quite a bit of finesse and just experience to do so. And I think that that's the biggest thing that developed for me, just doing that on and on and on. And you also get to enjoy just solitude, I'd say, just because, you know, you're by yourself the entire time in the middle of the ocean in a small boat that's about 2 meters long, and you got to enjoy it somehow.
So these attributes that you've developed sailing, would you say those make you a good League of Legends player?
I'd say yes and no, because that makes me a good individual player. But the fact that it's a one-man boat sailing means that every thought that I have, every plan that I want to do, has always been self-trained to keep to myself. There's nobody I have to say, oh, let's do this, oh, let's do that, come do this with me. And in the League of Legends environment where it's a team, I have to completely shed that, which it's been with me my whole life, and just completely switch it around, which is honestly the most difficult part, just being able to break out of an individual and be a better teammate.
Okay. Speaking of League of Legends, you guys have played Gambit Gaming in the semi-final. You lost. You've learned a lot about yourselves. We can talk about it another time. What did you learn about Gambit specifically, and what would your prediction be for this final?
I learned about Gambit that they have a very erratic play. So it's very difficult to just say this is what they're going to do. I didn't really feel like I had a grasp as to what they were doing, and that caught us off guard. Just because they're picks and bans. Obviously it's a pre-season, but with the exception of that, it's a difficult team to adapt to, I'd say, to just understand what their thought process is, and I think that's a huge strength for them. But with that being said, I do believe that the game that we're going to have here, the grand final, will probably go 3-1, I'd say, in favor of CLG. Counter Logic Gaming took down Rocket, which looked like it was going to be the favorite for the tournament, but I feel like they just may have the upper edge, to be honest. I liked what they were doing with the games yesterday, and more so, I really liked Link. We had the question of, is he going to step it up, and he has really proven himself. And finally, Doublelift can win something for a change. Yeah, you know, that'd be nice for him to have, but I'd like to. I want to see him just enjoy it, to be honest. Just win or lose, just have fun playing. So your prediction 3-1? Yes, CLG 3-1. All right, thank you very much, Crumbs. Right, thank you. Back to you guys at the desk.